Cool. It is really important, I think, and I don't know, I'd love to learn how, what the level of kind of verification is, as we're communicating with VR counselors. It's different everywhere, but in South Dakota, like, you know, when we have an opportunity, how is the proposed course of action being discussed, and how's it being shared, and all of that, how are we communicating with the team, right? Because the expectation is, I know we're so happy when somebody gets a job offer, and that's wonderful. But the expectation is we're having a more in-depth discussion with the services. So we some form of writing it down, and we'll go over, we're looking at the different tasks and routines, thinking about what's a person going to be doing. I mean, the core question about the job match from the job perspective is, what are you going to be doing, right? And who are going to be around, who's going to be teaching you, who's going to be supervising you, how's that fit you, right? So I wanted to just get back to the workplace culture. So if we think about what we're looking at, this culture, then there's intersecting tasks. This is all about belonging. And I think belonging is a crucial piece of work, because you're around people all the time. Employment's just another relationship, I think, obligations, responsibilities. You're getting paid, of course, which makes it a little bit different. But like somebody, you're going to do what you say you're going to do. They can count on you. You're going to show up and work your shift, or whatever it is. And you're going to, serve customers or help your coworkers. You're going to learn. So, I think you can relate it to a lot of other relationships in our life. So when you think about culture, again, broad term for like formal, informal rules, rights, rituals of the workplace, right? So some culture is clearly spelled out. Mission statement in our world, maybe, expectations for, I guess at Chick-fil-A, where my daughter loves, the whole, what do they say when you get stuff there? My pleasure, right? They say that a lot. You guys have Chick-fil-A in South Dakota? I'm sure you do, right? We have like one here, but this is the whole their approach is, and they don't work on Sundays, right? It's a very, I think, a faith-based corporate culture. So that's formal, but then there's informal stuff too, like what do how do you work around the boss that everybody doesn't like? How do you guys get along? How do you make sure things get done, but maybe not the way you were explicitly taught? Rights that people go out. Are they in a basketball league, a bowling league? How do you celebrate 6 months on the job, a year on the job, all this kind of stuff. And then there's like we said, there's informal stuff. There's subcultures. Culture is not static. It's constantly, it's in motion. It's developing, growing, evolving. And then intersecting tasks. So if you could just keep that, write down workplace culture. I'm going to show you a video, and I want you to identify this stuff in this video in a second. Intersecting tasks, and again, we're thinking about belonging of the match. Those are tasks where people are doing stuff together. So cliched examples are maids in a hotel making beds together, 2 carpenters hanging a door, delivery workers carrying heavy objects. For us, often it's the meetings or stuff like this, training. But we're working together with a coworker. And the idea there is that, those are places, because I know that when we get to fading and we get to kind of follow along, and growth and how do you check in if something's not going great? The more that people are known, they build relationships on the job with coworkers and obviously their supervisor or others, the more there's potential for those kind of natural supports and help. And then workplace environments. So this is just, we're thinking about the match. Where does the work actually happen? Like the physical qualities, right? And how does that inform, how, because obviously the spaces, the geography of the environment dictates a lot of how work gets done. So again, like if you work in an office, it's cubicles, and for use office. So what's that like compared to like where everybody has their own office and the doors are open or closed? Again, the same with coworkers, the same with supervisors. Like where my wife works, when somebody leaves, who gets what space is a big deal there. It's and they have like there's no rules about it, but informally who gets what, it kind of communicates a lot, right? Customers, suppliers. So examples are tasks, workspace, alone or in teams, working outside, inside, tools, that kind of stuff. So think about if you could write like workplace culture, intersecting tasks and environments. I'm going to show you a video. I'm going to stop this share and show you. I'm going to turn off I'm going to get a drink while you're showing this. I'm showing you this video. What I'm asking you to do is identify those things in this video I'm about to show you. Here we go. Do you see the Spotlight Tampa? Everybody see that? Yeah. Oh, I need to make sure I'm sorry, I'm gonna stop share. Make sure I got the audio going here. Share screen, there we go. Share sign, optimize for video. Okay, I'm gonna play this. It's about 5 minutes long. And then just ask for a couple of people telling me what they saw, and then we'll be done.
Newest firefighters at one of the city's busiest fire stations. Take a look.
Today we're at Fire Station 13 to spend part of a day with one of Tampa Fire Rescue's newest probationary firefighters, Christian Segovia. Probationary firefighter Segovia tells us what his experience has been like so far.
I've been on the job since January 6th. I've been at the station for 2 months now. It's been a dream. A lot of action, a lot of different kind of calls, EMS calls, fire calls, you name it. They got it over here. Being a rookie is challenging. There's lots of things you have to learn on a daily basis. You have to learn your equipment. You have to just know your crew and how they work and trying to adapt to their system. The less pleasant jobs would probably be, the daily maintenance of the fire station, cleaning toilets, urinals, doing the dishes before and after and during meals and during the day. Trying to be the first person on the engine and being the last out of the engine, being the last person in bed, making sure the whole station looks good before you go to bed. So that morning, it looks good. Oh yeah, being the rookie is always, they always have something waiting for you, right in the beginning of the shift or during the day. A little hosing, a little getting wet. I remember one time when I was ready for bed, you know how I said we're the last ones? They flipped my mattress. They had the box spring on top and the mattress down. I thought that was pretty amusing, but yeah, it's all in fun.
On February 18th of this year, Tampa Fire and Rescue crews responded to a structure fire at Del Monte's Bistro Lounge. Probationary firefighter Segovia was on shift that day and was on one of the crews that responded to that blaze.
That was the biggest fire I've ever seen. We had 2 ladder trucks shooting at the roof, and we had, they called a second alarm, and we had more units come in. I was there staging whatever they needed of me, and yeah, that was a big fire.
Day to day. At 10 o'clock, we're going to go up here to Johnson & Johnson. We've got
Captain Baxter reflects on his early days as a firefighter with Tampa Fire Rescue and how those days helped influence him.
It was probably the best time of my life. Everything's new, exciting. There's still, to this day, I've enjoyed the last 11 years, and every day I come to work, I experience something new. But specifically for that first year, it's almost like being a kid in a candy shop. Everything that you had dreamed up to that point had come to fruition, and it was your opportunity to experience those things. Every day he comes into work optimistic. He wants to train. He wants to learn the way we do things, which is important. And I guess most importantly, he understands he's a member of a team or a family. And as a member of the family, he understands his role. If you have a good rookie that's intelligent enough to realize that there's an inherent risk to the duties they perform and the profession they've chosen, they take the initiative and they desire to train in order to grasp those skills or refine the skills that they've been taught at that point, and to learn the tools of the trade to ensure that not only they protect themselves but the crew and the citizens they serve.
It's almost noon, and Station 13 has been on several calls this morning. Probationary firefighter Segovia and the rest of the crew don't know what's in store the rest of their 24-hour shift, but you can be sure they'll be ready to respond. For Spotlight Tampa, I'm Henry Williams.
And that's all it is just a training environment for him to realize that at all times his head needs to be on a swivel. There's inherent danger in the duties he's performed. That includes here at the station with maybe a little bit of water.
By the end of Christian's 24-hour shift, Station 13 had responded to 26 calls. Just another day's work for Tampa's bravest.
Okay. Hope you all can see that. Were you able to see it? Okay. Okay. So pretty, oh, shoot. Sorry. Okay, so that's a pretty, I mean, it's a pretty extreme, not extreme, but culture is going to be obviously very important. Like Bryce, I think in any organization that's mission driven like that, where there's inherent risks and teamwork is a, obviously a must, part of getting the job done. Culture is going to be important, but I just think, again, we won't go through it, we kind of out of time, but if you were to think about, obviously when you're new, the rites of passage in terms of like people get hazed a little bit in a fun way, which I'm sure everybody kind of went through that. They spoke a lot. I mean, I'm typically pretty skeptical of whenever everybody says family, and that's like matches that up with work, but in that environment and some others, we can see, yeah, I kind of get where that comes from. So, there are certain things that, that obviously that they were speaking about that are important. And you can see, like, if you think of intersecting tasks, I mean, when they're all together in meetings, they're on the calls together, people working together. And then the workplace environments are obviously varied. And there are certain things that are valued and when you're in and expected, depending on the environment that you're working in. So that's a, pretty, I think, a fun, information-filled example of how to maybe get some of that. Sometimes it's a little, I think I told y'all with the court on the corporate side. I remember I was with somebody, and like she was interviewing at one of the clothing stores in the mall, and the interviewer asked her, like, I was helping her kind of going through the process, like, why are you here? Instead of like the other 9 clothing stores, like. And so I think that was just a really great question. We didn't really, and that was one of those things where I'm like, oh gosh, I was telling you about how I wasn't prepared. And that was a really good question, for why are we here, not at another one, right? And what about the culture about that business is, so. Anyway, so we've lost some folks, but thanks everybody for sticking in. Any questions or anything? We have a few more minutes. That's enough for today.
Russell, I just had a comment that
Yeah.
I think that video is a good example of how experience is such a subjective thing. So based on an individual's, choices in their attitude, perspective, work ethic, I try to remember in working with my clients that it's not my job to shape their experience necessarily, it's to guide them through that process, but it's really empowering the client to make their personal choices on how their experience in that job or at school or whatever, how that's going to be. And I think, those rookies were a good example of, yeah, there's the, pranking and different things like that, but they choose to recognize it as, as part of the process, earning your stripes, so to speak. And, but they know the big picture of why they're there and why they chose that job.
Yeah.
And so shaping the experience for themselves is really important thing.
That's great. Yeah. Yeah. I think that's wonderful that we, I think I think our role is help people explore options, but yeah, how one person would, I don't know if any of you are like in a fraternity or sorority, you know, I tried that and it wasn't really, some people love that kind of stuff, you know, I did not enjoy that process.
I worked with a young man with Down syndrome, and he was excluded from the hazing, which actually led to a series of very negative behaviors that no one could make sense of. And I'm like,
because he's not
trying to do hazing, and he
wasn't
happening.
put through the same process as everybody else. So yeah, interesting. Yeah. Yeah, that's great. That's great. Yeah, and then the other guy we're working with, he liked to be the hazer, but he didn't quite enjoy being the hazee. You know? So like he could give it out, but when some people dish it to him, he really didn't. So yeah, I mean, I think people experiencing that and understanding what's expected for the setting, right, and what that experience is like for them, what that means for them is wonderful. Yeah, I think our role is help people explore choices, you know, and then people make their own choices and decide how it goes for them. Cool. Okay. Well, thanks everybody for sticking it out. Appreciate it. So when do we decide, when do we do the drawing? It should be just for people who hang out the entire time. And we should kick it up to like $100 per session. Only people are left at the end.
Well, I can't pick the amount. I don't have the authority to do that. But I was a little bummed to see that so many people got off. So I might have to rethink that a little bit. But
just the people who are here at the end, yeah.
Yeah, and those who have their video on too.
Yes. If you have your video on, you get like 10 entries into the pot. Right? So your odds go up.
Super cool points there.
Raising stakes a little bit.
Mine's been on the whole time. I just shut it off at the end.
Cool. Well, thanks everybody. Have a great enjoy. Oh, Monday's almost over, so I appreciate it. See y'all. Thanks, Jordan.